Welcome to Physician Assistant Mentor Online.
Hi, welcome back. Today's interview, we're going to talk to Emily. Emily got into the PA program at Arcadia. And what's special about Emily's situation is that she started PA school 3 weeks after graduating from college. It is possible. A lot of people think that it's just too much to accomplish during your undergraduate time. And for most people, it really is. It is difficult. Sometimes your school doesn't offer the courses required or obtaining the clinical hours, shadowing hours, etc. But it can happen. So why don't you listen to Emily's story? If you have any questions for us, just leave them in the comment section or email us directly at info@pamentoronline.com. Thanks. And today we have another student that we worked with some time ago to help get into a PA program. Emily, thanks for doing this for us today.
No problem.
And thanks for all the headaches and problems associated with this. So if you could tell us your name and the school that you go to.
My name is Emily, and I go to Arcadia University at the Delaware campus.
Okay. So tell us how you first became interested in medicine. Where does that come from?
Well, initially I wasn't too interested in medicine. I actually wanted to be an engineer, and I started college wanting to do engineering, and I quickly found out that engineering wasn't really for me, and I couldn't see myself doing that as a career. And so I needed to start thinking about other career paths, and my parents had been telling me to think about the medical field. So I started to do some research into the medical field, and I took some classes. I took some biology courses and an immunology course, which really piqued my interest into science and the human body and medicine. So those were really my biggest things that got me into it. I started to shadow a PA and do more research into the profession, and I decided that I could see myself doing it as a career.
Okay. Where did you do your undergrad? Which college did you attend?
I attended Penn State.
And do you feel that the college provided you with all the courses that you needed for your prerequisites or to fulfill your requirements?
Yeah, it did. I majored in science with a biological sciences and healthcare option, and pretty much all of the prereqs that I needed for PA school counted towards my major. And there were a couple prereqs that didn't count towards my major, but I was able to talk to my advisor and petition to get those couple courses to apply towards my major requirements to graduate. So I didn't have any issues with that.
Good, good. Were there any courses in particular that you felt were more difficult?
I struggled a lot with organic chemistry. At my school, there's 2 levels of OChem. There's more of a basic level, and then there's more of an advanced level. And most schools will take the more basic level, but I chose to take the advanced level to make myself stand out a little bit and to push myself a little bit and take a more challenging course, and it was definitely very challenging. I ended up getting a C in OChem, and then for the second OChem, I had to drop it the first time, but then the second time I took it, I got an A. So it did work out in the end, and none of the schools that I interviewed at asked about my OChem class and the C that I got, so I think that they understood that it really is a difficult class.
Yes. What about the GRE? Did you take that as well?
Yeah, I did. I took the GRE twice, and yeah, I took it twice.
Was it required by the schools that you applied to?
It was required by most of the schools that I applied to. I decided to take it so that I could expand my options of all of the places that I could apply.
Okay, okay. Tell us about your healthcare experience. I mean, what did you do to gain clinical healthcare hours?
So I became an EMT, and I volunteered at a fire station as an EMT to get my hours, and I did that during the summer. I was originally planning on doing it while I was at school, and I had a job lined up and everything, but I decided not to because for me personally, I thought it'd be too hard to juggle getting those hours and my coursework. So I just worked really hard in the summer. I did it every day to get my hours over 2 summers.
Okay. And so you were doing this during your undergrad time?
Yes, I was. And then I applied while I was still in college. So I graduated, and then 3 weeks later, I started PA school.
Great. What do you feel were your strengths in terms of applying towards PA program?
So I think my strengths were in my coursework. Like I mentioned earlier, I was able to get all of my prereqs, and I had taken so many of them that I was able to apply to pretty much all of the schools that I wanted to apply to. And also, I decided to take more of the difficult upper level courses. So I took the upper level OChem, and I also took the upper level anatomy course, which I think helped me as well.
Okay. And then when it came time to apply, you applied through CASPA. Tell us about that experience.
CASPA was good. I started to fill out my application as soon as CASPA opened, and then it took me a while to fill it out because you have to fill in all of your classes that you've taken and all your information. So it took me a long time to do that and to figure out how CASPA worked. So it took me a long time to fill it out, so I wanted to start early so that I'd have plenty of time to do it.
Did you start filling out CASPA as soon as it opened, or did you wait a little while?
I started filling it out as soon as it opened.
Okay.
Probably like a couple days after it opened.
Tell us about your PA shadowing experience. You did shadow some PAs. How were you able to find them?
Yeah, so through my school, through Penn State, you were able to sign up to shadow a PA. So I basically emailed the person who was in charge of it, and she gave me a couple dates of when I could go shadow a PA at one of Penn State's off-campus clinics. So I did that, and then also one summer I volunteered at a hospital, and they were nice enough there to let me shadow one of the PAs there, shadow her on the hospital floors and also in the OR.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you find it difficult to find PAs to shadow? We hear that a lot from a lot of applicants.
Yeah, it was difficult for me. I was lucky enough to have it when I volunteered at a hospital that they let me shadow her. And also, I was lucky that Penn State offered it as well. And so I'm lucky to have both of those experiences. But even though I did do that, I still didn't have a ton of hours. And there were some schools that I couldn't apply to because I didn't have enough shadowing hours.
Mm-hmm. How many programs did you apply to?
So initially I applied to, I think, around 12. And then as the cycle started to go on into the fall, I was getting really nervous. So I applied to another, I would say 5 schools. So I applied to a lot of schools overall.
How did you go about selecting these schools to apply to? What were the factors that influenced your decision?
So one of the main things is because every school is different and they all have different requirements. So first, I looked at the schools that I was even able to apply to and met all the requirements for. And then from that, I looked at the length of the program because some are 2 years and some are 3 or 3.5 years. I also looked at their pass rate for the PANCE. So it was important to me to go to a school that had a high pass rate for the PANCE to show that they were doing something right with their education. and teaching students what they needed to know to pass the boards.
Okay. Then how many interviews did you obtain?
So I had 5 interviews, and I ended up going to 4 of them. And of those 4, I got waitlisted at 3 schools, and then I got into 1 school off of the wait list.
Okay. And this was your first time applying?
Yes, it was.
What do you feel was the most difficult part about applying through CASPA or filling out your application?
The most difficult part for me was getting my letters of recommendation and getting them in on time. And one of the people who wrote my letters was having trouble with CASPA and using CASPA, so I actually had to walk them through submitting the application. So I think the technical side was difficult to navigate.
Okay. And you started school fairly recently, this year, right?
Yeah, I started about 4.5 months ago.
Okay. So what was your first day like in PA school?
My first day was very nerve-wracking. So the faculty did a really good job of making us comfortable and making us not nervous. And it was really exciting to have the orientation and meet all of my other classmates and the faculty, and to kind of see what was in store for us over the next 2 years, and the academics, and learning about the classes that we'd be taking and all of that.
And where are you at in the program now? What are you guys studying, or what's coming up?
So we're in our 2nd semester. We're in our fall semester. So we just started our medicine course, which is the biggest course we take. So we learn about each of the diseases, how you get them, how to recognize them, and then how to treat them. We're also taking a physical diagnosis course where we're learning how to do a physical exam, and we have lab where we practice on each other. We wear hospital gowns, and we practice on each other taking blood pressures and doing the physical exam. So those are 2 main courses that I'm taking.
How do you find your classmates? Have you guys already started study groups?
Yeah, my classmates are really great. We're a very close-knit group, and everyone is willing to help everyone. We all share study guides with each other and study tips, which has been so helpful for me. I don't think I would have made it this far in PA school had it not been for my classmates. I really like how we don't have a competitive environment, how everyone is helping each other. And I do use study groups sometimes. It kind of depends on the material that we're learning. For example, we just learned about how to read EKGs, which was really hard to understand conceptually. So I studied with a friend for that, and we talked it out, and it helped us to understand it more.
Okay. Would you say there's a big difference between college and PA school?
Definitely. I thought that I was really prepared coming into PA school, which I was, but PA school is very different from college in that you're learning such a high volume of material and you have a short amount of time to learn the material. So we have several tests per week, and there's so much material on each exam. So you really have to be effective at your studying to be able to learn all of that material in such a short amount of time. And it took me a few months for me to get my study habits down, for it to finally click, and for me to be more effective at my studying.
So you talked earlier about your letters of recommendation. Did you run into any problems getting those?
I didn't have problems getting them. I just had problems getting them, I guess, on time. I got a letter of recommendation from a PA that I shadowed, one of my professors, and then the fire chief at the fire department that I volunteered for. And what I would say is to ask for the letters earlier than you need them, because that was holding me back from submitting my application, was waiting for my letters of recommendation to come through. And I would give yourself a couple weeks to ask for them before you want to submit your application.
Okay. So this is probably the most important part of the interview where everybody's looking for this information is what tips do you have for those who are currently going through the application process or considering becoming a PA?
I would tell, my advice would be to not get overwhelmed. I think initially it seems like a lot with what you have to do. You have to get your healthcare hours, you have to get your shadowing hours, you have to get all these prerequisites. And I remember going to my first info session in college to learn about the PA application process, and I felt very overwhelmed and sort of discouraged by everything that we needed to do. But I took it one step at a time. I really planned out what I needed to do in my timeline to get everything that I needed in time. So my biggest thing would be to not get discouraged, and to really plan out and use your time wisely to get everything that you need, and it will be worth it in the end.
So thanks again for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend and good luck with school next week.
Thank you, no problem. I'm happy to help, and let me know if there were any issues with any of my questions or anything.
Okay.